अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, क्या हाल है आपका? ठीक ठाक। हमारी शेयर बानो होस्ट इज ऑल्सो ज्वाइनिंग अस। आपकी दुआओं से उनकी तबीयत ठीक हो गई। लास्ट टाइम शी मिस्ड इट, सो वेलकम शेयर बानो ऑल्सो। पहले हम करेंगे थोड़ा सा राउंड अप इस तरह करेंगे कि हमने एक थोड़ी सी टेक्नोलॉजिकल ब्रेक थ्रू किया है। हम नॉर्मल लोग हैं, हमारे पास कोई ज़्यादा बड़ी टीम नहीं है, तो अब हम आपको गूगल अर्थ पे लेके जाता हूँ और वहाँ आपको राउंड अप दे दूंगा ऑफ द 4 हॉटस्पॉट्स जो हमसे हैं चल रहे हैं इस वक्त, और वो मैं आपको गूगल अर्थ पे दिखाता हूँ। पहला जो है वो है लड़ाई हो रही है बेसिकली ऑन गोइंग बिटवीन यूक्रेन एंड रशिया। रशिया ये पूरा इलाका इधर है और यहाँ से मोस्टली ईस्टर्न साइड रशिया ने काफी तक कॉन्कर कर ली है। ट्रंप के साथ मीटिंग हुई थी, उसके बाद वापस आए, यूरोपियंस काम कर रहे हैं और मामला यहाँ अटका हुआ है कि यूक्रेन को ईस्टर्न डोनेट्स ये देना पड़ेगा। डॉनबास यहाँ करके इलाका है रूस का लेफ्ट साइड पे, यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक वो ले चुके हैं और यहाँ का वो इलाका वो रूस कहता है मुझे दो। दूसरी चीज के नाटो की तरफ ना जाओ, और यूरोपियंस कोई गारंटी देना चाहते हैं यूक्रेन को, उस पर रशिया वांट्स ए वीटो ऑन इट। सो ये मामला यहाँ अटका हुआ है। इसका जो नेक्स्ट स्टेप है इज अ मीटिंग बिटवीन प्रेसिडेंट पुतिन एंड ज़ेलेंस्की, और वो अभी तक नहीं हुई, ठीक है। और उसके जब वो फाइनल हो जाएंगे इसके पीज एंड क्यूज और डॉट द आईज और क्रॉस द टीज हो जाएगा, तो तब ये जाके मामला शुरू होगा बिटवीन यूक्रेन एंड अदर वन। द अदर हॉटस्पॉट जो चल रहा है जिसको हम फॉलो करेंगे इंशाल्लाह, वो है ताइवान और चाइना का। ये है ताइवान और ये है चाइना। ये इज कंसिडर्ड इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ चाइना और everybody agrees on it, or it's normally referred to as one China policy. Taiwan, for you to remember, वो इस तरह बना था कि जब 1948 में कम्युनिस्ट ने उड़ा के फेंका चिंग काई शेक को और जापानियों को बाहर, तो उस वक्त वो लोग भाग के ताइवान चले गए। उस वक्त से ताइवान is considered by China to be a renegade province. So इसका इल्हाक with China is one of the top strategic items with China. अच्छा, दूसरी चीज जो इसमें चल रही है वो एक फड्डा है। There is a disagreement between Philippines and China and some other countries in this area. China claims all the South China Sea from here all the way down to here to these islands and up to here, and what they quote is historical background. अमूमन ये आपने सुना होगा स्प्रैटली आइलैंड्स वेस्ट फिलीपीन से, यहाँ उनकी शिप्स आती हैं, उन्हें बंदे आते हैं, चाइना रोकते हैं, and this goes on and on. Not only this is historical significance for China, but also this area is filled with oil, gas and minerals. So इसकी काफी अहमियत है। उसके बाद हम आ जाते हैं चाइना, इंडिया, पाकिस्तान और अफगानिस्तान, ठीक है। अभी चाइना फॉरेन मिनिस्टर वाज हियर इन दिल्ली, दिल्ली आए हुए थे वो, और वहाँ उन्होंने कुछ एग्रीमेंट्स किए हैं और एग्रीमेंट ये हुआ कि उनके एयर स्पेस खुल गई है और वो इंडिया को फैसिलिटेट करेंगे रेयर अर्थ एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, एंड इंडियन उससे किसी हद तक खुश हुए हैं क्योंकि उनको the Indians have been subject to American sanctions, tariffs, so that is hurting India. So they are trying to use China as a bulwark कि जी हम चाइना के साथ आगे बैठेंगे. But I think that the realization in the West, if you take a look at India, that it is a market, but that doesn't make it strategic. Now, what is strategic? Americans in the Obama days thought of Saudi Arabia and India as strategic. The problem is Saudi Arabia bombed out on Yemen, and the Yemenis, Houthis, basically handed Saudis a military ass. I mean, they lost. And then they have to do a ceasefire with the courtesies of Iran. India, after that, was asked when Gans was sitting here, okay, Pakistan ko karo. Instead of doing some victory and making Pakistan Gaza, what happened was India's whole air force was grounded for 2 days. A big humiliation. So now the question becomes, as a strategic partner in defense, where can India project power? And the answer is deep sea fishing in the Indian Ocean. उसके अलावा तो कुछ भी नहीं है. India ने थोड़ी सी बदमाशी की है. They sent 2 or 3 ships to support Philippines against China. Now that's a very bad move. Chinese look at that कि एक तरफ दोस्ती और दूसरी तरफ से ships भेज रहे हो और हमें challenge कर रहे हो, तो वो अच्छी नहीं रही. The Chinese foreign minister also came to Afghanistan. There are 3-way meeting, Pakistan, China and Afghanistan. And they basically said terrorism and stability. अब देखो अफगानिस्तान कहाँ तक मानते हैं. आप पाकिस्तान में आए हैं, उन्होंने सब कुछ मिला, पाकिस्तान की sovereignty को बचाया, and they said CPAC 2.0 पे जाते हैं हम और वो जल्दी करना है. And they also met the army chief. So this is what is going on over here. ठीक है. अब गूगल पे देखा. अच्छा, अब हम आ जाते हैं towards our main area. वो है Israel and Iran. इनका एक ceasefire हुई है after a 12-day war. ठीक है. इस लड़ाई में कई issues still remain open. Okay. आपको मैं इजराइल दिखा दूं. छोटा सा मुल्क है. ये यहाँ करके है. ये उसके बॉर्डर्स हैं. And इसकी population 9 million है. It's a population of 9 million, but backed up with the American 16% manufacturing capacity and technology. ये बेसिकली बहुत हावी हुए हैं इनके ऊपर. ना आप नोट करें, इजराइल का और ईरान का कोई बॉर्डर नहीं है आपस में. इन बिटवीन ईरान एंड इजराइल सीरिया का बॉर्डर है, बगदाद का बॉर्डर है. So if Israel wants to go all the way to Iran, they have to go through Jordan, then Kuwait, then into Iran. और दूसरा इनका जाना है इन्होंने, they have to go through Syria, then Iraq, then into Iran. And if the Iranians want to come, they have to go the same route. So the possibility of any ground action is zero between Israel and Iran. Iran is, as compared to Israel, is 90 million. And they're in a fairly weak position. अच्छा, इसके लिए I will give you what has happened since the war. Okay? ईरान ने अब रिसेंटली एक मिलिट्री ड्रिल्स ऑर्डर की हैं उन्होंने, और उसके लिए क्या कहते हैं, फॉर दैट बड़ी काफ़ी ड्रिल्स उन्होंने की हैं इधर गल्फ ऑफ हॉर्मोज में, या ये रास अल खैमा बंदर अब्बास से करके यहाँ करके उन्होंने की हैं एक्सरसाइजेस, और यहाँ की एक्सरसाइजेस. अच्छा, और इसको अमूमन लोग कह रहे हैं ये एक ब्लफ है, प्रोजेक्ट स्ट्रेंथ, बिकॉज देयर इज अ डेडलाइन कमिंग. व्हाट डेडलाइन? यहाँ एक डेडलाइन आ रही है अपना इनकी अगस्त 30 को. अगर इनकी न्यूक्लियर डील यूरोपियंस की और अमेरिकन की इनके साथ नहीं होती, तो एक स्नैप बैक सैंक्शंस लगेंगे. स्नैप बैक क्या? जो पहले सैंक्शंस थे ईरान पे वो वापस लग जाएंगे. मतलब ये उनके साथ किसी किस्म का कोई आप एक पुर्जा भी उनको नहीं बेच सकेंगे. नो बुलेट, नथिंग. एंड दैट सैंक्शंस विल बी ऑटोमेटिक विदाउट अ वोट. सो ईरान उस पर बहुत तफ्तीश, got a lot of worry in Iran on that issue. अच्छा, ईरान की क्या स्टेटस है इस वक्त? नाउ I know we all want to see Iran as a brother Muslim Ummah to be very strong, and we have faith and belief. But I will share what has been shared in the media and credible sources. Okay? Iran has an obsolete air force, and it consists of old 80s and 90s aircraft, which are generally not airworthy to a large degree and just cannot challenge anything in the modern air force. Okay. और उनकी बहुत पावर प्रोजेक्शन लिमिटेड कैपेबिलिटी है, और इन्होंने लेटेस्ट ब्लफ को कह रहे हैं. अच्छा, अब इसमें मैं देखता हूं कि 12 दिन की 12-day वॉर इजराइल ने क्या किया इनके साथ. Israel gutted Iran's air defenses, smashing radar sites and SAM batteries. On June 17th, Israel said it destroyed 70 air defense batteries. And they call this one as Rising Lion. This is 40 of which were hit during the first 24 hours. So the ability of the Iranians to shoot down any planes or missiles was basically khatam. Iran, before the campaign began, Iran depended mostly on Russian supplied SAMs like S-300, which are long range, SA-6, which is short range, with radar, with aging radar infrastructure. और जब से ये लॉसेस हुए हैं, उन्होंने इनको अपग्रेड या इनको रिप्लेस नहीं किया, मगर उन्होंने कह दिया है कि हमने वही बहुत एडवांस चीज हमने खुद बना के यहाँ कर ली है. खैर ठीक है, but that remains to be seen. जो असेसमेंट है कि अगर ये लड़ाई शुरू होती है तो ईरान will fare very badly. अच्छा, the backbone of the Iran air fleet consists of American-made F-14s, F-4s, F-15s from the 1970s. कुछ उनके पास आए हैं Soviet और Chinese models, but those are very old. और Israel के हैं F-35I Adir, which is just about the latest. अच्छा, conventional forces ईरान के हैं 610,000 और 3.5 लाख उनके फौजी हैं, मगर बात ये है कि यहाँ ग्राउंड फाइटिंग तो होनी नहीं. So those are kind of ठीक है, it's a good ground force, but in this fight it won't come into play. अच्छा, उसके बाद इसमें वो उनके जो लॉ मेकर्स हैं अमीर हयात मुकद्दम, that उन्होंने एक थ्रेट दिया है यूरोपियंस और अमेरिकन्स को. उन्होंने कहा है कि हमारे शिप्स आपके बाहर बॉर्डर पे खड़े होंगे, हम आपकी सिटीज को टारगेट करेंगे. यार, this is a very serious threat and it has been taken seriously by the West. तो उनकी जो 2 शिप्स हैं, एक का नाम है मकरान और एक का नाम है साहंद. These 2 ships basically are not stealth, so any radar can detect them. And if you detect something today, it doesn't last. So ये चीज कहना और फिर करके दिखाना is very difficult. अगर कहते हैं ना तो फिर शायद कर सकते थे, मगर anyway, इस किस्म के मिशन करना बहुत रेयर होता है किसी मुल्क के लिए, और इतना ज्यादा आप पे टोल लगता है कि शिप्स लेके जाने, रिपेयर करना है, टैंकर्स लेके जाने, बाकी चीजें लेके जानी है और वो करना है, और वहाँ इनके बेसिस हैं नहीं, ना अटलांटिक में है, ना इंडियन ओशन, सॉरी अटलांटिक में है, ना पैसिफिक ओशन में. अच्छा, बात सारी रह गई कि अब किस चीज से ईरान लड़ेगा. Iran will utilize its growing arsenal of ballistic and cruise missiles. And however, one problem remains. Israel is a far superior air defense and advanced aircraft, and crucially is backing from Washington. अब overall assessment इसमें हम करते हैं. For those people who think I'm a little biased, I'm not. I'm sharing it pretty much as it's seen and assessed by more than friendly and non-friendly nations. Achha, the scale and intensity of Israel attacks on Iran were unprecedented, the most severe security challenge to the Iranian Republic. Israel carried out 360 attacks across 27 Iranian provinces. Okay. Many of these attacks comprised of multiple aerial strikes on different targets in the same city. Over 150 distinct locations were targeted over the course of 12 days. Okay. The intensity of attacks on Iranian capital Tehran were particularly notable. Nearly one-third of all violent events attributed to the travel occurred in the Iranian province. The majority were concentrated in the capital city. लोग तेहरान छोड़ के भाग रहे थे. अब वो भी हमें भी न्यूज़ आई थी क्योंकि इजरायली जहाज दंदनाते फिर रहे थे all over the capital and other areas. Israel was quick to secure control of airspace after taking out the air defenses, which gave it a decisive edge. ठीक है और वो हम कह चुके हैं basically Iranian ability to intercept or fly its own air force was completely gone, and they were able to extend their range and have a complete freedom of action over there. अच्छा, एक independent outlet एक है जगह, उन्होंने ये बताया कि 160 Israeli strikes on military targets and 10 on police bases. US attacked their nuclear facilities. और उनमें से 1 दर्जन ईरानी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को उन्होंने उड़ाया, ठीक है, और heavy losses on the chain of command. उनके तकरीबन 30 senior commanders मारे गए and at least 11 nuclear scientists. तो बड़ा heavy toll लिया है ईरानियों ने इस लड़ाई में. जो भी इजरायली स्ट्राइक्स हुई हैं वो मोस्टली टारगेटेड थी. Many civilians were killed and injured, and at least with the injuries 40% fatalities. Almost 440 people out of 1100 were killed. There were civilians among the deadliest instruments, and बहुत नुकसान हुआ इनका. Okay. Now let's go to the next stage. Iran then targeted their facilities in Israel, and they hit a lot of, including population centers. ये 36 direct hits हुई. They fired about 1,000 missiles. Out of this, 30 had direct hits. Or this does not include the open area में जाके गिरे थे. At least 28 people were killed, and some of them were civilians. और कोई 3,000 Israeli wounded थे इसमें. So Israel also suffered a lot of casualties. Not to mention that they ran out of interceptors. So they looked for a ceasefire, and the Americans gave them the ceasefire. So at the tail end, there was a little bit of desperation in Israel to get the ceasefire because they had no more interceptors. Americans used almost 1/4 of their वो जो इनके interceptors थे, जो इनका THAAD था, उसके 400 मिसाइल थे इनके पास, उसमें से 100 इन्होंने इस्तेमाल कर चुके हैं. So that's a source of concern for them. They fired a $20 million missile to take down a $1 ICBM. So the economics worked in Iran's favor. Okay. इस बारी जो लड़ाई हुई, Gaza and Hezbollah did not participate. So Israelis basically were free to go after the Iran direct. Okay. इसमें एक चीज हुई है कि Iranian missiles was also depleted. Not to that significant जितना वो कहते हैं. Verbiage is significant, but let's see what the numbers are. Start of the war, Iran had over 2,500 missiles, 2,500 to 3,000 missiles, ballistic missiles. 500 were launched during the conflict, and about 1,000 were destroyed on the ground, along with 250 missile launches, they claim. So that still leaves them with about 1,000 to 1,500 missiles, which the Israelis had a hard time intercepting. Their interception rate was between 80 and 90%. Okay. Current situation ये है कि Israeli official are warning since Monday, warning की भी है कि लड़ाई any time हो सकती है. What they said, we must be prepared for every moment for confrontation right now. We are not even in a ceasefire agreement. We are in a cessation of hostilities. This is said by the first Vice President Mohammad Raza Arif. Okay. उसके अलावा Yahya Rahim Safafi, a military advisor to the Supreme Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, told the media that Iran is preparing for the worst case scenario. Now, these words are not normally used unless situations are fairly critical. We are not in a ceasefire, he said. We are in a war phase. It could break down any time. There is no protocol, no regulation, no agreement between us and the Israelis, between us and the Americans. A ceasefire means ceasing attacks that could change at any time. इसके दरमियान में यूनाइटेड नेशंस में भी कूद गए. उन्होंने ये कहा कि Iran is the only non-nuclear armed country that enriches uranium to 60%, far beyond the 3.67% cap set by a landmark international accord in 2015. अब medical reasons के लिए भी इस्तेमाल करें with isotopes of uranium, you only require up to 3.67. So the 60% enrichment of about 400 kilograms translates to 6 to 8 nuclear bombs if enriched to 90%. So, मामला जरा critical है. What U.S. Energy IEA says कि ये short step है from 90% enrichment required for nuclear weapons. और इसलिए last week Britain, France, and Germany, all signatories to 2015 deal, threatened to reimpose sanctions lifted under the agreement. These are called snapback sanctions. If by August 30th, Iran does not have an agreement with the Europeans, all Americans, then these sanctions go into effect automatically. और उस पे ईरान काफी थ्रेट कर रहा है, ये कर रहा है, हम ये कर लेंगे, वो कर लेंगे. हालांकि everybody knows not much can be done. दूसरी चीज एक और हो रही है at the same time. ये मैं जरा आपको लेके चलता हूँ गूगल अर्थ पे. आपने देखा है ना, इजराइल के साथ एक और मुल्क है which is called Syria. Syrian government and the Israelis are trying to come to an agreement which would be very similar to the 1974 disengagement agreement. That means Israel will not come into their territory from, mostly it is from this Golan Heights. ये जो आप देख रहे हैं ना, ये इजराइल ने कब्जा किया हुआ है सीरियन टेरिटरी पे. तो अगर इनकी हो जाती है, that would solidify the Sunni government, al-Shara, rule of Ahmed al-Shara. And basically, they kicked out the Hafiz al-Assad, the Shia backup minority. They removed him and he ran away to Moscow. And they replaced it by this guy who's backed, I think, by Israel, but mostly by Turkey. Turkey is just north of Syria. So Turkey is the other power which has interest in Syria. Now, What is happening on that front between Iran and Europe? ईरान एंड यूरोप, वो ये है कि ईरान फ्राइडे में कहा कि फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स ऑन द फोन with German, French, and British counterparts to avoid reimposition of sanctions. यहाँ तो वो मांगेंगे no enrichment. So that is something Iran is not willing to do. और उसके बगैर इनको Iranians को कोई relief नहीं मिलेगी. And they will also want complete return of the 400 kilograms to another country or completely away from Iranian hands. And then they will be talking about in what shape and form they want Iran so that it won't be a threat to the world. Now we will deal in that issue a little bit later. Okay. मैंने काफी मटेरियल इकट्ठा किया था, इसलिए I was looking through this, and anyway, that basically brings my presentation to a certain level where I think I gave you a good briefing of what's going on. एक थोड़ा सा मैं डाइवर्ज करूंगा कि हमारे साइड पे एक और तमाशा चल रहा है by the anti-Pakistan lobby as well as the Indian lobby. ओहो, पाकिस्तान को J-35 नहीं मिलने लगे. ओहो, पाकिस्तान को HQ-19 better than Thar नहीं मिलने लगे. ओहो, इनको HPM-3000 नहीं मिलने लगा. पहली चीज तो बता दें, उनके बगैर हम इतनी फेंटी लगाएंगे इंडियंस की. We will show them something they will remember for ages, for generations. And why would China not give that? And why would Pakistan not take it? Remember, J-35, its genesis was the J-31. J-31, Pakistanis and Chinese worked together on this program for stealth, जिसको अज़म और भी नाम दिया गया, और Chinese J-31 कहते थे. China then took this and took it out of prototype to production with Pakistan agreement. It made it J-35 because it is versatile enough to take off from carriers. So with the Chinese production capacity, this became a low-cost option. Okay? So Pakistan will get these. And let me ask this. Since last August, our pilots are training in China on stealth planes. All our F-16 pilots are in China training on stealth planes. I think they're going to come back with stealth cars. I doubt it. Will they come back with stealth spaceships? No. They will be coming back with stealth aircraft. Would it only be J-35 or would it be J-20? So, mere Pakistani dosto, my friends, take heart. Our time has come. Be proud. Stand tall. We don't need to ask anybody's look our enemies in the eye. The way we fought with multi-domain Air Force combat, now every Air Force is trying to learn how did the Pakistanis do this. It's not simple, dekh liya, fire kiya, ho gaya, ye wo ho gaya. It's not a Bollywood. They trained for years, 5 years at least, to be able to do this. And there's further integration, which they have not shown as yet. So, my dear Pakistanis, my dear friends, stand tall. Our time has come. And with that, time for Sharbano to come in. She has been waiting, has now gotten well after her high fever, like some of us have had, and it was sore throat and the rest. And on that one, I would say, please gargle once in the morning, once at night. You kill
Sure.
all these germs outside your body. Thank
No
you.
doubt.
Sharvana, all yours.
All right. So, as you talked about recently, that US-India ties entering their most fragile phase in years, how much room does that open for Pakistan to maneuver?
Well, very good question. I think we should stop thinking now in terms of what does it do for us. India is coming under an additional 25% tariff, which is about 50%. Did you
Exactly.
know our exports in cotton and yarn jumped up by 37%?
That's
Hmm,
really. Hmm.
almost $1 billion a month. Now, if our Nalak owners really own up and go for the nth, most people in this case will go for market share, not profit. First, you do the market share, then you come back and get the profit. But if our State Saab goes for profit only, then I think we'll get not as much as we should, but a limited amount. What is the second thing? Will Americans sell India high-tech weapons? Chances are low. They don't want to see that their F-35s is shot down by dozens by the Pakistani Air Force.
Exactly.
We probably end up shooting them down even with our 4.5 generation aircraft, even on fifth generation. So I think they'll be very careful. Secondly, they don't see a role of India in the region because it can't project power. Can Pakistan project power? Yes. If you look over here, Pakistan can project power all over the Central Asia. Pakistan can project power over here. Pakistan can project power over Iran. And you all know that we're building an air base in Azerbaijan. No, India can go deep sea fishing, I think. या अंडमान में शायद करते हैं वहां भी मछलियां होती हैं but anyway that is our advantage. So and you
Hmm.
remember that we are part of the Central Asian and CENTCOM alliance, which basically puts
Exactly.
us central as a pivot.
Yes.
Anyway,
And
so
Pakistan.
exploitation care. What we are also
Hmm.
supposed to get from Americans is night fighting capability as well as armored personnel carriers, which will be mine proof. So that will give most of our military extreme mobility to strike deep and quick. We also have
Exactly.
received Z-10ME Chinese helicopters. So any chance of these guys, where we're conducting operation in Bunair and Bajor areas near coast and Parachanar, these areas, they won't be able to escape because if they try to do it at night, they'll be hunted down by these helicopters. So those are the good news which we have.
Exactly. So
All
Pakistan has
yours.
become the new go-to partner. So, can Pakistan really play both Washington and Beijing at once, or is a clash of expectation inevitable?
Good
What do you
question.
say?
Now let's see what are the aims of the Americans as well as the Chinese.
Exactly.
Chinese basically don't want the closure of the Gulf Straits of Hormuz. Americans who are sitting in Qatar also don't want the closure of the Gulf of Hormuz because 30%, 40% global oil flows through here. So there is a unanimity of their aims between China and America. They both want to see this not coming through. Secondly, they both would like to see, more or less, Iran is a little hard country to handle. So there is some agreement on this issue. Second thing is what to watch for is China is having their September 3rd in Beijing, their September 3rd parade, the date of the Japan's defeat. So they're going to lay out a lot of new hardware. And Trump would like to be at this stage. So they're going to be synonymous with each other on this issue. So my own goal is, at the moment, they are not split. But down the road, anything is possible. But at the end of the day, where Pakistan would stand. I don't need to say that.
Exactly. So Pakistan may have leverage today, but leverage without discipline can quickly turn into a liability. So the coming weeks will be crucial.
I think our discipline is there because we have a field marshal. We're not dependent upon our, you know who I'm talking about. So Army is a very disciplined force, and our armed forces are very disciplined. They execute very well, and I think as a nation we should follow them.
Exactly. So you also talked about Iran's recent war, 12-day war, that gutted the Iran's air defenses. So can Tehran even protect its skies against an other Israeli or US attack? What do you say about that?
Very limited, I would say. I think
Hmm.
this time the Israelis will come once they run out of 20,000 of their interceptors. When they've got enough interceptors up there, where they can take care of the rest at least twice the amount of 1,000, they'll at least have ability to stop twice that amount. They will come again. And this time they will not give a ceasefire. They will keep going, keep hammering away. Do remember, Iran is 90 million, true, which is 10 times size of Israel, but only 50 to 55 million are Persian speaking. The rest of them are, if you look at the Sistan area, most of the people here in this region Sistan region, are mostly non-Persian speaking. People over here in the north are also non-Persian speaking. People on this side are also non-Persian speaking. Okay. Also towards the south, which is the oil and the rest, these are mostly Arab speaking. Up to here is still non-Persian speaking. There is some infiltration from Persian speaking into Bandar Abbas, some areas, but how well Iran can sustain all that and sustain its identity, that remains to be seen.
All right.
मैंने आपका क्वेश्चन
So
आंसर
we'll
कर लिया.
thank you so much for your insights, and we'll be tracking how US, Pakistan, China, Pakistan, and India's shifting role collide in the next chapter of South Asia's story. So, thanks for sharing your wonderful insights. It was
Thank
really
you, Sharma, and pleasure being with you again. I'm glad to see you all well and happy.
thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Okay. Allah
All right.
Hafiz.